Hey guys, Dov here, back with another core unit for Total War Warhammer 2. And of course, today we're taking a look at Night Goblins. Yes, the diminutive, nasty, scheming little buggers. Here, a replay from Sladex up against the Skaven. I will make note of this as well. He's used Night Shroud to make this entire blob here, have stock and unspottable. All of these units have stock as well, though they are now being spotted by some of these chaff units coming forward. Up against this Skaven build, probably a pretty good idea, given that the Poison Wind Mortars can do a lot of damage, obviously not to the Stone Trolls, but especially these Squig Hoppers, that will take a lot of damage from that. Grom the Paunch leading the way, we've got a bunch of Pump Wagons as well, and the Orc Shaman also gets that stock and unspottable, so the 8-peak Loonies are going to take the damage from that Poison Wind Mortar, which is okay. I mean, they're unbreakable, so they'll hold their leadership, but the damage is not necessarily great. Night Goblins getting into combat, though. We've got both the Warlords boys and 8-peak Loons, of course, Rusty Airs as well. Plenty of Night Goblin archers. There's blanketing Hell Pit Abomination here. Grom comes in for a nice block with his chariot, and the Hell Pit Abomination will take a bunch of extra damage as a result. The Grinder here, trying to lock down and save the mortars. The mortars did take a big old charge, though, right in the face from those Squig Hoppers. Took a ton of damage. And honestly, even though the Squig Hoppers paid for it pretty dearly, getting rid of this mortar is very, very important. You can see also that the Stone Trolls and the 8-peak Loons, I didn't see if they got a good Fanatics cast. I don't think they did. 28 kills, though, still pretty good. Just their good stats, decent stats, I should say, in Poison will allow them to clean up a lot of these Skaven units. But Grom's taking a little bit of damage here. Deathmaster Snitch and the Assassin come in and actually get him terrified away. And he actually shatters there, so Grom, kind of being the tank lord, gets a little bit too overly aggressive there, and he's going to get routed off. So it will be up to the rest of the Gobbos. Of course, we've also got the Stone Trolls. Definitely planning a core unit video about them eventually, but today, definitely wanted to focus on the little boys. I am a huge fan of Night Goblins in general because they're poison. Their high numbers, they get buffed very well, and you can see that wah popping off now. 51 melee attack with 110 unit models still. Decent weapon strength also. I mean, their melee defense and melee attack really are not amazing for the cost, but the fact that they have poison means they'll trade very cost effectively. The stock is also just such a nice utility. Their leadership is absolutely an issue, though. That's kind of their main drawback, obviously, but you can somewhat make up for it with strength in numbers here. And how about that volume of fire, too? 90 unit models with poison attacks and have decent missile damage. I have made a previous video about Ungor Raiders and talked in that one about how having a high unit model count for an infantry skirmisher is actually really strong. Even though they only have 1 AP damage per shot, 10 damage overall, the way that the percentage mitigation works, oftentimes it's better to have more numbers of lower damage than less numbers of higher damage. It's not always true. It's kind of a case-by-case basis, as are most things in this game. But you can see here the Plague Priest getting beat up by the Stone Trolls. He actually does magic damage. The Discourage will be nice against the Trolls, but the magic damage means that he's going to do basically nothing, given their magic resistance. Flappa's also done a great job. I love the flat pump wagons, man. I honestly thought pump wagons were going to be the best unit, but I definitely underestimated Stone Trolls, obviously, and Silver Guard, but I haven't been seeing pump wagons as much as I thought I would anyway, even though, Stone Trolls are so prevalent. I still think they're an excellent choice in a lot of matchups. This is probably the best matchup, but yeah, just absolutely running shop here, disrupting the Skaven. You can see there was another squad hidden in the forest there. Grinders, we've got Ixtra's Triads. And I believe there were the ROR Death Runners out there as well. Yeah, Ixtrin's Death Squad. Looks like they got mixed up there with some of those Night Goblins. Must have taken some damage from something. But Flappa's continuing to push through, try and disrupt those mortars. They're getting some pretty good damage right now on the Rusty Airs. But just because of the numbers here, especially the numbers of archers, they're doing pretty good. And look at this. Because of the model count situation, I believe... Oh, no, that is actually the Doppelganger. Yeah, okay. So they're not actually doing any damage there, but at least holding those... Goblins in place, and they do force a Brain Burster, which does a little bit of friendly fire. That being said, this Assassin's getting absolutely pounded by Trolls now. Snitch is relatively healthy here. He's going to roll through and fight these 8-peak Loons, but, out of any units that are on the roster here, the 8-peak Loons actually will do kind of okay. I mean, they have 34 melee attack, maybe not, with Slippery active. He's up to 74 melee defense, but I don't know, not a lot of these units left have really high attack stats. And I don't believe, no, there's no sneaky stab in there for the Shaman, though he does have Vindictive Glare, which will do some pretty decent damage to Snitch. Yeah, and there's no magic damage either. I mean, no Fists of Gork, so we'll see. Snitch is going to be a tough opponent to take out, but the rest of these weapons teams, I mean, because of their slow speed, the fact that Goblins have poison and are just fast enough they can keep up there. I mean, 24 speed with the weapons teams after they've been poisoned. These Teethbreakers trying their best to get away. Night Goblins are going to switch on over to the Grinders, which is just fine. The Grinders have pretty low defense. They are going to lock in and do a little bit of DPS with that Warp Quake, but you can see the Grinders are taking quite a bit of damage. Their health, leadership, HP are all very, very low. That Warp Quake may just break the Night Goblins, though. Looks like it does. Archers coming back. Night Goblins coming back, and you can see the stock coming into play too, where they're kind of moving up into the side. The Teethbreakers are pouring their fire into the Stone Trolls, which is absolutely the right play. They managed to break them along with Snitch coming in and doing some melee damage. The Discourage of that Plague Priest looks like didn't really play too much of a role, but potentially can in keeping them routed. But the Orc Shaman's still here fighting some Plague Monks. It's not a great situation for him. Warlord's Boys coming back. It's excellent, though. And yeah, I believe the 8-peak Loons, they are over here still, so they can come in and support this fight. As these last weapon teams get eaten up by the Flappas and the Gobos, balance power will start to turn a little bit against the Skaven here. And the Goblin Archers, of course, providing that leadership debuff from being attacked by missiles, and they won't be poisoning their friendly troops, which is really actually a massive change for them. I mean, Night Goblin Archers were already pretty good before that, but now that you can guarantee they won't be poisoning your own units, they are even more of a meta pick, I would say. In certain matchups, especially where you don't need the armor piercing of Orc Airboys, in fact, I would say you probably want to bring Night Goblin Archers over them. Maybe. I'll have to kind of do some experimenting and see. Orc Airboys are also a very, very good unit. Night Goblins, though, I think if you take them as a whole, I would pick Night Goblin Infantry over Orc Boys in most situations. And likewise, I don't know, it's kind of the opposite for the Archers. Like, I think Orc Airboys are slightly more useful, but since the poison change, I don't know, I think Goblins may see a resurgence in the meta in terms of Archers. But Orc Shaman gets routed, but commands the Gobos to go forth and finish off the Deathmaster here. Pretty much all of the rest of his forces are done. These Arwar Death Squad, oh man, it looks like the Pump Wagon might have actually missed its charge there, but the anti-infantry bonus will probably allow them to get some damage anyway. Vixtrin's Death Squad does have very good melee defense for a unit of that type, especially while their buffs are active. It doesn't look like it's active right now, but a little bit of Vindictive Glare there on Deathmaster Snitch. Night Goblin Shaman's definitely slower than him, though, so he will eventually get caught, and that has equaled out the balance power a little bit. Definitely going to be a close one into this late game. Will the Gobos be able to carry it home, along with the Stone Trolls here? Stone Trolls running in to try and bash Snitch. Probably a good idea, although he has really nice melee damage, and the armor sundering and everything means that, yeah, the Stone Trolls actually kind of get countered by him in some ways, but the mass, I mean, at this point, you just need to commit the mass to protecting your leadership here. This Night Gobbo does not want to get routed off. Very important for supporting. Stone Trolls also, I mean, they have a pretty decent charge bonus. Look at that, though. Snitch just takes a massive chunk out of him on his attack. The issue is he's going to get staggered quite a bit. So he might have a hard time actually getting his attacks in. It looks like so far, not really. He's been able to get pretty consistent attack animations there. There he gets staggered, and that's not good. If he gets stagger locked, ooh, yeah, like now he's getting repeatedly staggered. Not able to get any attack animations in. I don't know, it looks like the Skaven player is also trying to disengage him there. Honestly, just issue an attack order, and he might be able to beat those trolls. But at this point, pretty much everything else is routed off. The Gobos have managed to mostly finish things. Extra's Triads, a little bit out of position, trying to get back to support their Deathmaster, but I think it's going to be too much. We'll see. Right now, they've used the concealment bombs, so the Gobos can't spot them. Now, finally, they're being spotted, and I would expect a countercharge here, maybe from some of these units. Yep, looks like the Warlord's Boys and the 8-peak Loons and everyone else go ahead and countercharge back in there, and one of the weaknesses of Triads and Death Runners is their low model count, and that gets specifically countered here by this massive horde of Goblins. Even though there's multiple tattered units, there's still just so many unit models left that the Triads very quickly get wrecked. So, Yeah, very fun game, nice back and forth from Slade. Well played to both him and Flying Cat there. Absolute work done on some of those Night Gobbos, and obviously with the Fanatics on the 8 Peak Loons, you expect them to get pretty high, but 150 on the Warlords, boys, is really nice, doing it all the old-fashioned way. 110 kills here as well for the Night Goblins and some XP chevrons. This one got 17, and I think it had that one to start with. I'm not 100% sure, but the Stone Troll's also doing great. Snotling Pump Wagons, obviously, over 100 kills on 2 of them. This one especially, 164, 2 chevrons. And although the Squig Hoppers doesn't really look like they paid for themselves, and one of them probably didn't, but even just the disruption of having them be able to get in there without getting spotted and immediately disrupt that mortar team so that while that mainline engagement was kind of kicking off, they weren't firing into the line of Gobbos and swinging that engagement, against them. So very nicely done by Slade. Yeah, as far as the Skaven side goes, Deathmaster Snitch, definitely a pretty solid pick in a lot of different matchups. Greenskins, I mean, he accomplished his goal of sniping the Lord, right? Of killing Grom, which is actually something that's kind of hard to do in some situations. But Deathmaster being able to pin someone in place, then using the mass and the kind of multiple characters to take him out, definitely pretty strong. It's just then the rest of the army didn't quite have the tools to deal with this horde of numbers, especially once the Hell Pit went down to the archers, and this volume definitely pretty easy to deal with a big unarmored monster that's slow to command, like the Hell Pit. That proved to be a big counter, and once the Terror's off the field, then the leadership's not as much of an issue. It is still an issue, but the Gobbos are able to get in and get the work done. So awesome replay. Big thanks to Slade once again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. So every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.